How's everyone doing? I can't hear you. This is a YouTube video. Anyway, um, I'm making this one because I'm trying to smooth over some relationships and lay some tracks for hopeful future development. So, the bitching and moaning with Jordan Peterson. First of all, this guy's my friend. Secondly, it's the same where there's any artistic project or any intellectual effort, there is a squabbling over credit. And I made it very clear with Peterson that the work that we were doing with that King James Bible thing, right? That was my intellectual property. And because we're collaborating, it is also his intellectual property, and we're splitting it. Okay, right? And that work is very important for AI. And it wasn't something I just pulled out of my ass. Like, this is the thing. This is what my graphic designer friends tell me, is that they'll spend years and years training, and then they'll make a logo in 10 minutes and charge a client $500 for it. And the client will be like, that took you 10 minutes. It's like, yeah, but there's all the years of training which went up to that. So I have spent years studying ideology. That's my shtick, okay? My entire thing is that when I was a kid, I was such a devout religious kid. I found out that my entire worldview was bullshit, and I had the rug pulled out underneath me. And if you've ever been truly religious and like had that own personal Jesus thing, and then you realize, oh my God, my imaginary friend I have as a young adult isn't real, and oh my God, everyone in my community is full of shit, and it's all these collective delusions, and this is what holds up society, right? That's what I experienced. And how the structures which make things like that seem real, and not just seem real, but how everything is shaped, is what has been fascinating to me. And the way I came to the conclusions of what it is to ask the King James Bible a question, it wasn't just because I have training in high level stats. And that's a shallow mastery of high level stats. I'm like a level 9 wizard, if that makes sense. I'm casting them fireballs and shit, like with meta magic or something. But I'm not at a PhD level. Like, I will go through what it is to be at a PhD level in a couple of minutes. But I'm still developing in my field. Jordan developed in his field within a shallow realm of personality, right? He's good at that, right? And he is a psychologist. My frustration with him is when he starts talking about developmental disorders like ADHD, and as a person who has ADHD, when he describes it as like, oh, you didn't have enough play growing up and shit like this. It's like, dude, like, no one is an expert in all realms of psychology. You do not understand developmental disorders, okay? And that's okay, right? There's so much I don't understand. Like, if I have to, when I return to practice, because it looks like I'm going to be doing that soon, I'm kind of been trying to avoid it because I'm such a public figure. I'm going to have people coming into my therapy rooms, and it's going to be a whole lot of exposure and scrutiny. I'm going to say, okay, I only provide acceptance and commitment therapy. And because I'm not in part of a wider team of experts, it'll really just be me and my clinical supervisor rather than in an interdisciplinary team. I'll avoid working with more complex presentations. It's just going to be acceptance and commitment therapy because I know I can provide that, and I can shape it to most problems. But I'm not going to touch those complex presentations for a while, even though that's what I've primarily worked on, right? And I'm actually really good at it. I'm good with complex presentations because I'm good with dealing with chaos. And when I'm doing that role, there's as much case management as there is therapeutic intervention. But getting back to my point, when the attitude, like, I came up with the solution, which was now being used in a large amount of different AI models. From this long amount of work, following the debates with Jordan Peterson and Slavoj Žižek, really understanding Žižek's work and understanding how these complex philosophical systems work, right? So ontology and epistemology, these things, right? There was this moment where Jordan Peterson had this debate with Slavoj Žižek, and it was just so obvious that he was outside of his expertise. Because one, he was seen on stage typing into his computer, "Who is Hegel?" Right? And Hegel is an incredibly important philosopher in the Western canon. Like, he's the guy that we get Marxism from. He's the guy where, who's responsible for a lot of the more abstract stuff. And there was also this moment where Peterson, where Zizek, he responded to Peterson when Peterson said, postmodernism is just a continuation of Marxism. And Zizek was like, how can that be when Marxism is a material philosophy? So the way that it's structured is that it comes from how people relate to physical things. So same way that, I relate, it's about commodities. It's about it's the central part is the labor theory of value. We're calculating how many hours it takes to produce something, and then we extrapolate, and then there's the idea of the means of production, and there's we've got these things which now allow an hour of labor to be so much more efficient, and class struggle is about getting the means of production. Postmodernism has a very different narrative. What I will agree with Jordan Peterson on, and I think this is what he tries to express, but I never feel like he ever hit the nail on the head with it, is that a lot of the people who have the personality traits which attract them to being just compulsively anti-establishment and looking for an intellectual facade to justify their hatred of existing systems, will switched from going from Marxism to postmodernism because during the end of the Cold War, Marxism was no longer fashionable. That is something I will agree with Peterson on. I'd also agree that, I'll just leave it there, okay? Now, the kind of relationship I want to have with Jordan Peterson is one when I can fly out to Canada, sit down with the guy, we can have a couple of beers, I can talk about his work, how I appreciate it, the parts I appreciate, and we can have these conversations about, Jungian psychology, and just okay, that's how you were interacting with these ideas. It's really fun playing with these ideas, okay? That's the kind of relationship I want with Jordan, right? And he's a person who I think that when I sit down with, I would actually get along with, but because we're having this squabble, because I'm living like shit, and my work has been quite influential, evidently, I'm quite annoyed and frustrated. And there was that precursor. I said that, I wanted to be the first author on the paper if we went to publication, because it was essentially my thesis. He's someone who's provided me the connections in the work, so he could be second author, and third author would be the person who ran the analysis. Now, we didn't quite get that far, okay? And what I want to do is I want my work to benefit everyone who has helped produce it. But I need to get the money from it, and I want to use that to be able to promote my NGOs and my work. Because there's substantial overlap between what he wants and what I want. We have some disagreements. But if the people who have a conservative leaning need leadership. Jordan Peterson provides that. I find a lot of, and by what I would request though is, what I'd like him to do is I'd like him to delegate more and have more people in his network who critique his work so he can provide the best message possible. Because the same way him and I both have, when you're this sufficiently influential, you need to treat your role similar to how the royal family treat their role. I'm less cautious because my thing is authenticity and people can trust what I say because I'm not misleading them, right? Jordan Peterson's got a similar thing. I am a little bit more off the cuff and sometimes abrasive and cause political dramas. Like I had this bromance with Anthony Albanese, and I was thinking I was going to get Australian of the Year or something, but it looks like I've pissed off enough people that it might not be happening. Probably not anyway. But you need to have a team around you supporting you and critiquing your ideas and being able to get the best message across possible. As a person who's worked with developmental disorders and children with developmental disorders, I feel like Peterson can do better when he's conveying things there. I think a lot of his training is outdated, and he can collaborate with experts such as Russell Barkley, who was this psychiatrist who used to do these wonderful weekly reviews for ADHD and autism. He's now retired. Fair enough. Maybe give Russell Barkley a call. See if he can get you in touch with someone who's an expert in developmental disorders. Right? That's what I'm going to be doing when I'm able to get my team together so I can provide the best message possible to the public. It can't just be me who's the mouthpiece of what I'm thinking. I need experts around me so I can portray the best possible message. And I need the money to be able to do that work. So that's the main thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that the difference between what I have as a person who's got an artisan knowledge and a person who's got a doctorate is that I can do a whole lot of work. I can read a textbook on statistics and I can train myself to do an analysis. I'm a smart cookie. I am able to teach myself things. So can most people who are at the end of their PhD thesis. The difference is that the shaping you get from the structured hazing of that provides a person who has a predictive less set of capabilities. So I would not be able to plonk myself down in the research department of a university. I can do a review of literature, but it's not going to be at the same standard of someone who's done the full PhD thesis. I'm not used to writing academic articles to the standards which would be accepted at a journal. So there's a whole list of different skills which I haven't yet developed. I'd like the opportunity to develop that. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just finish my internship and then do some training in data science so I can better understand what other experts in their fields are saying so I can best convey it. My job is to provide leadership, keep this together, interact with people who know their shit, be able to detect it when someone is full of shit, and be able to lead this project. That's my role. And finalizing my certification as a psychologist is important for that. Going on to PhD would be very useful. I think there are skills which I don't know if I'm in some areas I'm in a stage where I don't know what I don't know, but I'm pretty good at identifying my own shortcomings. And when you can do that, that's when you're safe. That's when you can play with ideas effectively. You're not going to mislead people in conversations. And I'm at that level for most things. There may be some areas where I don't know my incompetence, but I don't think there are many, and I'm usually able to identify it. I think Jordan, I feel like in many ways he was quite isolated. So his whole thing was taking on so much responsibility and shit like that. And man, you do that, you snap. I've snapped before. We've both had issues with substances. He had an addiction where he had to literally go to Russia so they could put him in a coma to get over his addiction to Xanax or something. I got my booze. It's not great. It happens. But he's a person where we can get along. There's going to be opportunities for collaboration and there's going to be opportunities for actual friendship. I am appropriately pissed off about this AI thing. I didn't just pull it out of my ass. I have spent years thinking and working around that topic. Just because I don't have a list of academic papers to my name doesn't mean I haven't been structurally thinking and working it out. And I want to say I wish this man well. It would be nice if he was practically working towards helping me in my situation. Have a lovely day, everyone. And best of luck, Jordan. We'll get along together soon. Cheers.